Good morning.
Grand Rising.
Yes.
How you doing today?
Good, you?
I'm good.
Okay.
Can't complain. This is an interesting discussion today. What we talking about?
Today we're talking about how white supremacy shows up in black culture.
It's one of those discussions.
Yeah, it's one of those discussions. Just one of those discussions.
Nah, what? I'm Mahogany.
I'm Ish.
And this is Culture Currency.
Well, culture
is the value. White supremacy, the belief that white people constitute a superior race and should therefore dominate society, typically to the exclusion or detriment of other racial and ethnic groups. When you hear that, you probably say to yourself, how could black people be acting within white supremacy?
Me?
We gonna talk.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, I know how. Yeah.
So, where you want to start?
Kick it off, and I follow your lead.
So, most people know what the Willie Lynch letter / speech is. If you don't know, I think you should Google it, or I will have a link below so that you can go and see what that's all about.
Very important document to read.
Very important document from 1712. And its purpose was to tell slave owners how to control by creating division based on differences, right? And when I think of the Willie Lynch speech or letter, I think of Jane Elliott. Now, Jane Elliott is actually a white woman who's been doing great work for many years in regard to identifying what racism does, what it looks like, how it behaves. And she did this by doing the blue eye, brown eye experiment. Her goal is not to teach black people about racism. We know all about it.
Right? Touch her people.
So her goal is to teach white people about racism, how it looks, behaves, and how the impact can impact anyone, right? So from Jane Elliott's standpoint, all white people are racist.
Innately.
So the goal is to put the oppressor in the oppressed shoes. And so she put brown-eyed people in a room with blue-eyed people, and she treated one group different than the other. She made rules and excuses for one group over the other. And she watched as the behaviors in the room changed. So there was a great deal of people in the room who came in feeling fine. And then by the time the experiment was over, there was a great deal of people who felt horrible about themselves, just in this very small amount of time. These very small experiences made them feel less than, made them much more reactive and aggressive, made them super insecure. And her point of view was to say, like, I did this with you guys for an hour.
Right.
Now imagine a whole system being built to do this, and it's happening throughout your lifetime. Today we live results of that.
Yeah, the success, right? What year was it? Willie Lynch letter? 1712.
1712.
That's 313 years ago, right? And the reason why we're having this discussion is because we're aware of how it shows up in our everyday lives without us even thinking about it. The way it shows up in our daily interactions with each other subconsciously. How we see the proximity to whiteness, you know what I mean? And how we look at it as he indicated that we've made it in some kind of way. And what I mean by that is many of us who may hang out with white people when it comes to business and different stuff like that, and we're taking photos and stuff, and it looks like we made it. Without even knowing who these people are, just the fact that they're white is like,
proximity.
She's doing something or he's doing something, right? Where I feel like if you're hanging out with people of your same race, then we have to say who they are for us to know, like, oh yeah, you're doing your thing. But if your people from inner city, from the hood, sees you with a bunch of white people, they're automatically gonna say, oh, you're doing your thing. Which is wild. But where does that come from?
Yep.
You know what I mean? And we know, I mean, many of us knows where it comes from. Many of us may not know where it comes from. But it definitely dates back to slavery, dates back to the Willie Lynch letter and the plan to divide and conquer.
So is there a secret belief that wholeness comes from the acceptance of people who don't accept us?
I mean, I think we felt that way for a long time, you know. For example, even the whole civil rights movement. Like, yeah, we wanted our rights and stuff, but the whole notion of integration, you know what I mean? And us being educated by people that don't look like us, everyone going to school together. Now, we all have bias, but I definitely have, white people that I'm super close to, love with all my heart. The co-founder of Dream is a white woman. Board Chair is a white woman. Two of the closest people to me, and one of my biggest supporters, a white woman. But my whole point is that we really wanted to integrate. I mean, I wasn't there then, right? But we really wanted to integrate at that time. And I really feel like I would have voted against it because I think it's really important for us to be taught by each other. You know what I mean? Because of the history of this country and what this country was built on. It was built on the backs of slaves. We were seen as 3/5 of a man, right? What was next to nothing at that point. So, someone that doesn't really have rights, right? And so to want to integrate and be educated by the descendants of those people, what was the thinking behind that? Did you really think our children would be treated fairly and educated fairly under fair conditions? No, right? And the reason why I'm saying that now is because my greatest teachers were my black teachers, man.
Absolutely.
Right? I think, and when we think about police in our neighborhoods and the interaction I just had the other day, I said, this is why we also need officers in our neighborhoods that look like us.
Absolutely.
We engage with each other differently. We understand each other differently. It's really important to be around your people, to be educated by your people.
There's a lot that comes along with culture. That's why we call this culture currency. I believe it was an interview with Denzel Washington where they were speaking about Malcolm X and could it have been directed by a white director. And he spoke about, all things can be done by anyone, but the impact and response would be different.
There it is.
And so only someone who grew up within the culture understands what the hot comb going through black hair, what it smells like.
Yes.
Right? We have an understanding of our identity very different.
Exactly.
Because we're in it.
Yes.
It's like, yes, we could be taught by white teachers and they can do a decent job, but they're not going to do the job that somebody who is ingrained in our lifestyle is going to.
And grew up in similar households.
Yeah, the culture.
And the same culture is definitely not going to be the same experience.
I'm happy you brought up the integration conversation. I seen a interview recently where they were speaking about, nobody talks about how there were black bus companies back when the whole Rosa Parks situation took place.
Right. Don't get me mad.
Why?
Because I kind of knew that but didn't know that.
Yo, it's baffling. It just means that this mindset has been here longer than we understand.
Right.
Right? That acceptance being needed made us as a people decide we want to fight to be in their space versus really support the space that we already had. And I don't understand it.
Right. Martin really felt that we should be together, right? Thousands of people. My grandparents marched with them. A lot of people's grandparents marched with them, right? That it's time for us to, it's really important that we should not be judged by the color of our skin, but the content of our character. And that's such a great ideal that if all of us could really live in harmony, you know what I mean? But harmony is not, it's really not the way of the world. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, it's war, it's divisiveness, you know what I mean? It's capitalism. All of those things are the way of the world. And with that, there will be no harmony. And there will always be an underdog. And it's really important that, and understanding that communities take care of each other through these wars and through these fights and through capitalism and through hate, that we love each other. And I think that's the importance of understanding and defining your culture, who your people are, and stick with them and build together.
I want to be very clear that there is man versus nature. What we know of our regular existence is what man has put here. So we often confuse man-made activity to natural activity. It's not natural. The cycle of life is harmonious. Humans have taken the harmony away. And the beauty of what I identify in Martin Luther King was his ability to believe in the natural state of things.
Yeah.
But where he lacked was in not identifying that we were in a system that wasn't of nature.
Right.
It's a system of man. And so I can want to be friends with someone.
Right.
But if they hate me, they hate me. And me being in proximity to them is not going to change that.
Oh, I love that. Right.
You know what I mean?
Me being closer to you is not going to make you love me.
It's not going to make you love me.
Nah.
See, he's looking at it from a standpoint of harmony.
Yeah.
So he's thinking to himself, if they just knew us.
Yeah, exactly.
If they just knew us.
Right.
If they seen how we lived our daily routine.
Yeah, they will understand.
They would buy in.
But the thing, they don't want to know us. They never wanted to know us.
That was never their, that's never their thing. So he was misinformed, right? And the moment that he got informed, he got dead.
Yep. Once schools were integrated, do you know that's when the rule of suspensions were enacted? That's when suspensions started being in schools. And then since then, black and brown young people have been disproportionately kicked out and suspended from school. And that and being suspended, you're 3 times more likely into the prison system. So even, you know what I mean? So we're all of the work that our folks did. Oh, new rule.
Listen, this is why we
New
need
trap.
our own schools, right?
Exactly.
This is why I came up with the Oliver Legacy Academy. You know, I had to go and fight for my granddaughter who was wrongfully accused of an act. This same system was being used against her. And really in a way that was not just, oh, we're going by the rules in the book, but more of a, I'm trying to ruin this child's future. And it angered me so much to look at this black man when I went to the hearing to speak for her. I turned to this black man and I said, yo, do you recognize what you're doing? This is a child. I'm stating on the record that she did not do this, but let's just say she did. I said, you're comfortable with bringing a black child in here and saying that as a child, you don't get second chances? I said, could you look back at your childhood and say that you didn't need second chances? There was no room for growth? Are y'all kidding me?
Are you serious?
Are y'all kidding me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this system is raggedy. And it's the reason why I decided to create this school. It's not just a school that's for us, by us. It is a school that has a system created to make sure that every level of people that's in this system is healthy.
That's right.
And dealing in healthy ways and not imprinting on each other.
Well, no, that's good because it made me think about certain things, right? And I'm thinking about cooperative economics. Ujamaa, which is the 4th principle of Kwanzaa. And I just want to define what cooperative economics is. So cooperative economics is an economic philosophy and practice where people work together to meet mutual economic needs through collective ownership and democratic control of resources, businesses, and services. The idea is to build wealth and sustainability within a community, especially marginalized and underserved communities. We need our own doctors, right?
Absolutely.
So we could reduce the mortality rate of women during birth. We need our own lawyers and judges because our state and federal prisons are riddled with black and brown people. And we need teachers because our young people are being suspended and kicked out of class at disproportionately rates, and all of this works together, right?
That's what segregation would have made sure we had.
What you mean, would have made sure?
If we was in our own spaces versus
right, I'm
integrated,
thinking.
we would have had our own systems already built in. At one time, we actually did.
Right. We spend so much time stunting on each other, so much time taking each other down through selling drugs and alcohol and all of those things. Not enough time in thinking about things like cooperative economics so we can be the powerful, healthy people that we could possibly be.
That takes me back to what I said. You know, we say we love us some us, but do we really?
But do we?
But do we?
But do we?
You know what I mean?
You know what I'm saying? It's just sad how deeply entrenched the self-hate goes, and the self-hate is
One of our episodes, I define joy versus happiness,
yeah,
right?
that
And
was good.
I feel that we find joy in one another, but we don't find happiness in one another. The moment it goes beyond the joyful, being able to laugh together, joke together, and have those moments, that's when our inner scars start to show up. Because once somebody starts to shine a little more,
right,
there's an envy that happens.
right.
Once somebody is doing something that is beyond our scope,
Yep.
it's like your little podcast.
Yeah, your little, right, yeah,
You know what I mean?
Your little program. It's an organization, thank you. Oh, little program.
Yo,
Right.
and it shows up in so many little ways, so
Right.
many passive-aggressive ways, right?
Yeah. But it's so deeply ingrained that you can't see it no more. It's a little grain now. One thing I was thinking about, just on a level that I didn't want to go there first because I feel the surface, but as an example, I was hanging out with my godson recently. He was watching Cheetahs, and there was a white couple and there was a black couple. The white couple, the guy's really upset, caught his wife doing some stuff. He said, she's just using him for his money.
Who
right?
said this, your godson?
My godson. She's just using him for his money. That she didn't really want him. I said, why do you think he has money? And she was like, because, that's what she's using him for. I said, yeah, but what about him tells you that he's financially well off? He was like, I don't know, like his calmness. I was like, where was he calm?
His calmness.
He just caught his wife cheating. He's wilding right now. He's very upset. Where was he calm? He was like, I don't know. I said, you're saying that because he's a white man. He's like, no, I'm not. What about him tells you that he's wealthy? Look at him. And he was like, because white people can throw in anything, but they're still wealthy. I said, okay, but what tells you that he's wealthy? I said, I could tell you one way that tells me that he's not. He's on Cheetahs. If he was wealthy, he could handle his own private investigator and figure out what his wife is doing.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? I said, because you also did not say that about this black couple. This guy, he's talking about the business that he has, that his business is successful. He's doing what we do. He has on big jewelry. It looks real. He got the brands on, right? He got the car. You didn't say anything about his financial stability. He was like, I didn't mean that. I said, no, it's okay. I said, but it's subconscious. It's a subconscious bias that you have. You didn't realize it, and it shows up in all of those ways. When I talk about, like, taking pictures with white people and stuff like that, people like, yo, each doing her thing. How you don't even know this lady?
You don't know
I got more bread than her.
You know what I mean?
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but that's how we, you know what I mean?
You bringing that up reminds me of my twisted mindset when I was younger. Everybody knows me as Mahogany, but those who grew up with me understand that my name is Kamisha. And I would not be okay with people calling me Kamisha for so long.
Damn.
I internalized the Isha. So growing up in the hood, all of the girls got an Isha at the end.
Aisha.
You know what I mean?
Isha for Fisher, banana.
Yeah, so instead of looking at it as culture, I looked at it as ghetto. We need to start dissecting why is anything the opposite of white proximity ghetto.
Right. So, for example, remember I had braids. And I'm trying to figure out what I would like to do with my hair. Do I want to grow my braids back? But running this organization, I'm like, damn, how am I going to be perceived with these braids? And the fact is, whether I love my braids and I want them, the fact is I am going to face some shit because of those braids. So your worry is actually a true fact, and it's effed up that it brought something in there that you didn't love such a beautiful name. I know it has to be a powerful meaning.
It is powerful.
You know what I mean? And then my name has a powerful meaning as well. It made me actually really love my name more. It's unfortunate. You know what I mean? The self-hate that some of us have internalized is actually a real thing. You know what I mean? Because the word, you know, to some degree. Because, I mean, we can stand in our own power, and create our own situations and fight the good fight. But it didn't come from anywhere. I remember being younger, lightest on my block, long hair, and I remember getting real cute with my cousin, right? My cousin Dana, I got real cute with her one day. And she told on me. I said something about, because I'm light-skinned, long hair, something, right? And I actually got that from my grandmother, like feeling like that was a thing. She told my mother and she got me together. She got me, so I can't remember what she said because I remember how I felt. And that reality check just changed my whole view of that, where it was really about who I am as a person and not about the looks that society celebrated, but be my best person to myself and to other people. So from then, I didn't care about none of that.
Raising two daughters, one dark skin, one light skin. I had to deal with that a lot with them. I had my own experiences prior, but as being a parent who is making sure to care for the mental and emotional health of young ladies was wild. From my oldest being threatened in ways such as I'll cut her face, cut her hair. Like, I had to show up at schools ready for war. Just the mere fact that those are the things that you're targeting tells me what this is about, right? And then people will ask about my oldest daughter, and I ask about my youngest daughter because she's the dark-skinned one. If you're asking about one, ask about both, or don't ask about any.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we as a people have some really, really, really foul ways in which we interact, and we don't even notice that we're doing it majority of the time.
Right. I was thinking about another time when I was younger, and I was playing outside with my friends. I was always made fun of because of my complexion and stuff. We was outside playing, and I remember arguing with one of my peoples, and I was like, please, black spook.
What?
Right?
No,
What? This is after they called me a whitey fish.
Kids are funny.
Man, this is corny.
Yo,
right? You call me a
kids
whitey
are
fish, like, you whitey
funny.
fish, and this. You saying so Malcolm, so I said, so, black spook, and everybody was like, oh, no, you're that.
And
No, you're that.
yours became the bigger...
Why my thing is, what y'all doing to me? I'm black too. You know what I'm saying?
I want to touch that because I've brought that up in other conversations as well. When you say that, I'm thinking in terms of how we are victimized, and then all of a sudden, we see it okay to victimize.
Yeah.
Like, why would you want to be what you say you hate?
Yeah. And that's, I think I always bring up this this book, Pedagogy of the Oppressed, right? I was just thinking about that too, like the whole, when you were speaking, and regardless, every group wants to be the superior group. So it's like, no matter what, is that just human nature?
No.
You know what I'm saying? Where, like, when you think about the bourgeoisie blacks back in the day, those who did have, you know, that were wealthy, had economic means, you're looking down on the ones that, on the black people that didn't have financial means. You know what I'm saying? So it's always a thing, or as soon as we get a couple dollars, we want to go out and we want to have on the best and all that. And a lot of it is not just because I was feeling good about ourselves. We want to stun on each other. Like, you don't got this. You don't got this. You all right, but you ain't, you know what I mean?
That goes back to the learned behavior I keep saying.
Yeah.
So we keep, when we reference, we're continuously referencing after the fact of becoming oppressed. The earth gave everyone everything they needed. So you had your medicine doctors, people who gravitated towards the things that spoke to them, right?
Yeah.
And then when somebody occurred land that had more than the next person, they had barter systems, they traded.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
They understood being harmonious. It feels like a long stretch to look all the way back there because we've been so accustomed to seeing this cycle. The cycle comes from a people who decided that there should be hierarchy. So it's not nature, it's man.
Right.
And because it's been going on for so long, it starts to feel like this is the nature.
This is the way it is. That's the way it is, like Fox said. Yep. My stepdaughter, one thing I love about my lady and what she does is she really makes her daughter feel really good about her brown skin. And sometimes they have battles and she's like, I'm darker than you. I'm darker than you. And her daughter's like, no, you not, please. You wish you was. I love that.
That's dope.
We go away, she gets a tan. She's like, I'm your complexion now. She's like, no, you're not, Mommy. You wish. I love it. I've never seen anything like that before. And it's genuine. You know what I'm saying? It's really that genuine for that beautiful brown skin and all of that. And I just love that it's celebrated in my home.
That's how my dad was.
Yeah.
My dad was more fair complected than me. And he made it a point to let me know how gorgeous dark skin was.
Yes.
And he made it a point to show me in comparison to his lifestyle, like, yo, your mother was the love of my life, and look at her. She blackity black, black, black. I love that blackness. Right?
Yeah.
So it always, even though I did go through colorism in my world,
Right.
I always had a buffer.
Yeah.
I always
Right,
had
good.
something that told me, nah, what they saying ain't it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's very important for us
Yeah.
to do in our households.
Yeah.
Yesterday, this young lady on TikTok did a video with her baby in her hand, and she said this is her first dark-skinned baby. And she said she's dealing with colorism in her house from the baby siblings, her other children. And she was a little flabbergasted and didn't understand, like, she was like, yo, this really is a thing. But the whole conversation, she kept saying darky. And so in the comment section, everybody's like, well, you know, it's a learned behavior. These are your kids, they in your house. What you start with is stop calling the kid darky.
You labeling her by her complexion.
Stop calling the kid darky.
Yeah, how about start there, silly?
So she's thinking that she's creating this conversation, and she doesn't really know that she's the nucleus of that conversation.
Wait a minute, the flip side though. What's wrong with darky? Darky is beautiful. How is darky being seen when you saying darky? I hate the fact that
Intention matters.
yeah, intention matters. Like, okay, so is dark bad? Or like when people say stuff like, damn, you black.
Be like, that's why you black.
That's why you black. Yeah.
That's supposed to be a diss.
Yeah, you better watch out for you get tan too much. That used to be a thing. But it's like, all right, so what if she calling her baby darky? How does everyone feel in the house about dark skin? That's the thing. Come here, darky, it's your beautiful self.
My sister used to call Monty, my youngest daughter, Tootsie Roll. She's like, look at my Tootsie Roll.
Yeah.
Because you know Tootsie Rolls is dark, but they sweet.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
So
and there's a smile with it.
Yeah, you know that it's coming from a beautiful place.
Yes, that matters,
It
man.
matters. It matters.
And then the fact that everybody is saying, stop calling her darky, what the fuck is wrong with that?
The intention matters. You gotta know the intention.
The intention matters,
You gotta
man.
know the intention behind it.
Yeah.
It's a long discussion, baby.
Oh my God.
It's a long discussion.
This is gonna be part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
This is a long
man.
discussion.
Because we have so much to uncover with this and really talk about. This is really the surface. This has gotta be a series. We gotta dig in this though. It's so many different parts. We gotta dig in this, man.
We gotta dig in this. Because I got so much to say and not enough time to say it.
Yeah, and you came and said, yo, in season 3, I remember you said like, yo, let's talk about white supremacy and black culture. And I'm like,
You ain't get it?
I got it, but I ain't feel it yet.
Got you.
I ain't feel it yet. I feel it.
I feel it.
Because this is...
It's layers.
It's
so many
layers.
layers. Like, we didn't even get to how we operate when we get in proximity of white folks. How we feel like we have to tone. We brought it up a little bit in one of our other discussions, how we change tones, how we feel like we have to change our entire behavior, our look.
I'm tired of the yeah. Where else do you say that?
I never heard so many black women sing their words in my life. The whining words, that's not us.
Right.
That's not who we are.
Right.
So when I hear it, I already know there's manipulation going on here. And a lot of black women are now singing their words.
Yeah.
It's driving me crazy.
Let me tell you something. One thing about being a CEO, what I love, I'm not inflicting nothing for anyone. Don't support me then. The only thing I'm gonna do is make sure that I'm grammatically correct. But other than that, I got my New York twang. I'm from the hood. And I'm not trying to just stick onto some ignorance where I'm from the hood, so you're gonna understand that. But it's like, bro, of course, most definitely, I'm not doing that.
Nah,
not doing that.
And you don't have to.
You don't have to.
You don't have to. Anybody tells you
we feel
you
like
have to.
we do.
Anybody who tells you you have to lying to you.
And it's sad, but we feel like we do.
I know. I'm one who I had to prove everything. Everything that somebody told me you can't do if you do this, or if you look like this, or if you carry, I proved all of that wrong. You know what I mean? I've done things that society says can't be done.
Right.
I've taught in college. I didn't get a high school diploma.
That's right.
You know what I mean? These are things that society says you can't do that I've proved wrong.
That's right.
Not by not aspiring to be better,
right?
But showing and proving that, no, I'm qualified.
Right.
Without the system saying I'm qualified.
Right.
I show up and I show out
That's
in ways that people who got that paperwork don't.
Right. That's right.
You know what I mean? So it's very important for us as a people to understand that the only boxes that we need to fit in is the ones that we see for ourselves,
Right.
like our label
That's right.
discussion.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When it comes down to this white supremacy and black culture, it's important to me because the only way that we get to our most powerful self is when we acknowledge our power, and our power is within knowing who we are.
Boom. Let me go back to that. That's where education would have come in. And being taught by people other than ourselves that our own experiences don't become important. The American tale became important.
Absolutely. And that's
You understand
my
what
point.
I'm saying?
Absolutely.
If you don't know where you come from and how powerful your people are and who they were before they were slaves, or even how resilient they were as slaves, you know what I'm saying? Then how do you know how powerful you are? When I found out who my grandparents were, when my father was really started educating me around that, I felt so good walking in my purpose. I'm like, oh, I don't get this from nothing. This didn't just come from my idea because my dad was a director. He got it from something.
Absolutely.
You understand what I'm saying? He got it from something. I got it from something. This is who I am. You know what I'm saying?
It's
Like,
understanding.
come on, man.
It's a foundation.
Recently, I was thinking, yo, do white people know when we're changing our inflections for them?
Of course they do.
Like, what are they thinking?
Of course they do. They know that they'll shuck and jive. These are people
I got this string.
who we can utilize.
Right.
That's what it tells
Yeah.
us. It's the total opposite of when I walk in the room, right? When I walk in the room with people like myself walk in the room who understand that I am enough, that I am great, that I can show up as I am and be just as powerful and impactful, we are looked at as a threat. This one's gonna ask questions. It brings me back to something I wanted to discuss is how we police each other in this time. We do their job for them at this point. So we know that our natural state isn't just to go along with anything. We ask questions. Those of us who are still in our natural form, we ask questions. Those of us who want to just get along and just, I don't want no problems, we think it, but we don't say it, right? And so now the person who does ask the questions that need to be asked before making the moves, they're called hard to work with, hard to deal with, by the people who come from the culture of making sure that this fits before we just do stuff. And so at this point, white people don't have to manage us. They don't have to police us.
Right.
Because we doing it to each other.
We police
It's
ourselves.
house ninja, field ninja mentality. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, no, sir. She ain't supposed to be doing that.
Yo, you know what I think about sometimes? When I think about how people move and I see little sucker shit that some people may do, I'll be wondering who their ancestors were. Like, were you the one? Yeah, was your great the one that went and told Massa and all that? Because I think that's who you come from and stuff like that. Like, I'll be wondering, like, who are your people? But even in us saying that, you got that house link mentality. None of us wanted to be slaves, and I'm sure even the ones in the house didn't want to be in the house. You know what I'm saying? I know I would have been in the house, so I'm defending my house link. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, the issue is not whether you was outside or inside. The issue is once you got inside. Once you got inside, how you treat the outside.
How you treat the outsiders, yeah.
That proximity.
Yeah.
Soon as we got close, we said, Massa,
but that's
they not
part of
following the rules.
Who talked about that? Was that part of the belief instinct for the ones who do dick and then bring them to the table, separate them?
But that goes back to the Jane Elliott thing. What she did when she did the project is she made sure that she praised the ones with the brown eyes or the blue eyes, whichever one was in power at the time. She praised them. She made sure that she solidified anything that they were doing to make them feel superior and to make the other ones feel inferior. And so it is a part of the process. And that's why we're saying it is white supremacy and how it's showing up within us. Because that's the plan, and the plan is working.
I got to bring up our current president because he's bringing that back. So one of the things is a lot of folks can't travel from different countries. They're not able to come
and go as they please.
They can't come and go as they please, right? He's cutting that off, right? But the Africans, the white people from Africa, as he was shutting off the countries from traveling, he still brought mad at them over here. They was like, oh, they're facing discrimination over there. These white people are facing discrimination over there. I said, oh my God. He's being so intentionally a bigot, so intentionally racist, and he's putting it out there like, yes,
You
we
know
are
what's
superior,
crazy?
damn inferior, and then he just had to do that in that way. You know what I'm saying? And then, or everything that we're seeing on television and the protests and with all of these brown people, it's just it's just repeating itself. Y'all put him in office.
Well,
Okay.
I will say above the influence, some of the stuff that's being shown to us is not exactly what's being shown to us. Rage baiting is a thing. And
It
that's
is.
the
It
easiest
is.
way to get us rageful.
Yeah. Get that war going.
Yeah, yeah. There's a video that I was showing my sisters where it's, a white man in Africa telling the black people that they can't come in that area of Africa. So there's a lot of really weird ish going on in this moment that you kind of just gotta sit back and digest, take all of the information and see what's real, see what's fake, see where this is going. What is this cycle? We know what happened prior, so we know what's gonna happen late. You know what I mean?
I
It's a lot
appreciate
happening.
this because this is about media literacy, and like you said, rage baiting is a thing, and politics and media have always been calculated, in terms of what's being shown to us and then also blinding us to the things that are really going on. So distracting us to pay attention to this while there's a larger thing happening. So I really appreciate that. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah. This is a huge discussion. We definitely gonna have to have.
I look
more
forward to bringing it
episodes.
up. I look
Yes.
forward to bringing it up. And I think that this is definitely one of the discussions that we should have our live audience in.
Absolutely.
And then another
Get
one where
some-
we can bring a special guest who's like African studies, and we can really
Yeah, some
let's
real-
dig, yeah, let's keep going with this.
Yeah.
Let's keep
I got so much more to say.
Oh my gosh.
Not enough time to say it.
Yeah.
But I'm Mahogany,
I'm Ish.
and this is Culture Currency.
With culture,
Is the value.
peace. Make sure to like, share.
Subscribe and comment.
We appreciate you.
Yes, sir.